Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Nolden?
Here.
Mr. Freeman?
Present.
Mr. Lawler?
Present.
Mr. Sargentson?
Here.
Mr. Kincaid?
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd ask Councilman Bryant Nolden to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Please all rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Councilman Nolan. Madam Clerk, are there any special order or unfinished business at this time?
No, Mr. President.
Are there any additional petitions or unofficial communications at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are there any additional communications from the emergency financial manager, Madam Clerk?
No.
Okay. This is a time set aside for members of the public to address the City Council. The clerk will call your name. You have 5 minutes to speak. Please refrain from any personal attacks on individuals or institutions. First to be called this evening,
Mr. David Davenport? Mr. Davenport?
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
I'm here to speak to you all today about basically the fact that I am running for, I am a candidate in the 5th Congressional District race here in the state of Michigan. There is a debate that will probably be already had by the time that the voters see this, that will take place on Thursday. Clearly, I have not been asked to be part of that debate, and I have done whatever it took to get my signatures. I believe I raised more signatures than any of the candidates. Clearly, there's a problem here that your constituents are being deprived of being able to make an informed decision about the candidates that are running for the U.S. House of Representatives. Clearly, I believe it's something you should look into because there were 4 candidates that are there. There's 2 black and there's 2 white. Well, the only ones that were invited were the 2 white candidates. Now, it's a shame that powers that be are trying to force your citizens to vote for a certain colored candidate instead of giving them a chance to vote for any candidate that they choose to. I really believe it's something that you all should look into because you are the representatives of those constituents. And then if you feel that this is fair, then you might want to take a second look at how you are handling the district. The second thing I would like to speak on is the public safety millage, and I'm talking to the voters, and I'm letting them understand that I've been hearing radio commercials of someone saying that they're the president of this committee, certain committee to pass the law too for public safety. And I want the voters, when they go to the polls, I want them to stop and think about where was this person when Democrat bodies started piling up in the first place, when the first 56 officers were laid off and people were out here dying. Now, clearly, he stepped up for a reason. Now, I don't know which reason it is. Is it the crime is reaching out to where he is? Or is it because someone has reached out to his pockets? So this is what I want the voters to think about before you go and vote on November the 6th. I mean, because clearly, crime didn't just start yesterday. And for this committee to come up here so suddenly and say, hey, please vote, it's going to change things. If the police union didn't endorse it, the firemen didn't endorse it, your council people haven't endorsed it, then clearly you need to vote it down. So I thank you all for your time today, but it's sad that the ugly head of discrimination has popped up. And this is why I'm non-party affiliation, because I don't discriminate in anything I do. It has nothing to do with who you are, or where you're from, how much money you got, or what color you are. You deserve the same equal rights as anyone else in the United States of America. And for this news station that's discriminating, I ask you all to boycott, not to watch their shows, not to give them interviews, because clearly they only do what money does. And if that's what you're all about, then it's sad to hear. But to deprive the voters of equal listening of what the platforms are of any candidate, and you're supposed to be neutral, and you choose just to invite the 2 white candidates over the 2 instead of all 4, and leave the 2 black candidates out, when the county and the district of the 5th district is probably 60–75% African American. People wake up and understand that this is what they're going to do. The powers that be are trying to keep you in poverty and are trying to keep you down because they don't want you to rise above a certain level. So I thank you all for your time, and may God bless you all. And remember, vote David Davenport, non-party affiliation, United States Representative, on November 6th. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Comments? Our next speaker, Madam Clerk.
Mr. Quincy Murphy. Mr. Murphy.
Good evening.
Good evening, Quincy.
Quincy Murphy, and my address already. Let me
Yep.
give her a copy of this.
I don't think there was anything else.
Janelle, he's got something to.
I'm here tonight on behalf of the Millage. As we are aware, on November the 6th, we're going to be having to vote yes or vote no on the police millage. So when I got to looking at the ballot and looking at all the different millages on the ballot, I realized that we didn't have nothing to deal with our to prevent violence in the city of Flint. And this millage is for $5 million, and I guess we at our cap as far as millages, and if we vote yes for this millage, we can't come back and ask the voters for no more additional dollars, because we'll be at our maximum amount cap. So I just want to read what this language say. It says, shall the charter of the city of Flint be amended to authorize the city to levy an additional tax on real and personal property in the amount not to exceed 6.0 mils for 5 years for fiscal years beginning on July 1st, 2013 through July 1st, 2017 for the sole restricted purpose of providing 50% funding for eligible agencies, organizations, block clubs, churches, and civic groups who provide violence prevention activities in the city of Flint, and 50% to police and fire protection, restricted upon non-reallocation of existing police millage funding to any other department. It is estimated that 6.0 mils will raise approximately $5,383,924 in the first year. This is the same millage language that will be on November 6th. We just added some additional language to make it kind of balance out. Not to say that we don't want police millage, but we don't want $5 million to go into hiring police officers, no money going towards preventing violence in the city of Flint. So I'm not saying I'm against the police millage. What I'm saying that if you want to give $5,383,000 to strictly police millage, I think we should come and diversify that funding to be able to allow other organizations and block clubs that's out in the community, because we got a lot of people like the Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the Boys and Girls Club. They got a bicycle club at the Burston Field House. Clarissa Shields got the bike. There are a lot of different organizations out here that can use some dollars to help them bring some young kids off the streets. So I'm asking that hopefully November the 6th, if this get voted down, I'm not into campaigning to shoot it down, but I am voting no for the police millage, because I just don't think hiring, putting $5 million into police millage funding will be to solve a crime in the city of Flint. And I don't believe in millages that you may move millage funds to another department. So I'm asking that you guys look and review this millage language, and hopefully it gets shot down in November and you guys can bring this back up if you decide that's what y'all want to do. But just incorporate some for the to prevent violence in the city of Flint, because it just don't make sense to keep hiring police officers. That's not going to solve the crime in the city of Flint. But I think if you allow the Community Development Block Grant Department to allocate some of these dollars to agencies to apply for funding, and we'll meet the same criteria and guidelines that they require for us to be able to tap into these funds, I think it'll be more easy for residents to vote for this millage versus this millage. And then you got to look at it. If this millage get passed, then we can't come back to no more millage. And I just refuse to want to have to pay taxes again for hiring some police officers when we still ain't doing nothing to get the kids off the streets. Thanks and God bless.
Thank you, Quincy.
Mr. President?
Councilman Neely?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate what the speaker had just said, and I want to concur with Ms. Quincy Murphy. His sentiment as it relates to putting all these dollars for crime suppression and nothing for crime prevention, because we'll be forever chasing our tails if we only put money for opening jails and for crime suppression portions. We do understand we do have a problem, a very serious problem inside the city of Flint, but if we put nothing for our young people or none of these dollars to our young people for crime prevention programs, youth activity programs, we will forever be chasing our tails. And as it relates to what Mr. Murphy was saying about the cap, as it relates to municipal government having so much allowed for millages, and I'll bring it to my colleagues' attention to remember when Mike Brown was here the very first time as mayor, they brought the prima civitas report before this body. In that prima civitas report, that is the playbook in which this emergency management is going by, because in that very report that we received about 3.5 years ago, it said that they wanted to raise the millages inside the city of Flint to the maximum level. So this is not something that's happening overnight. This is something they planned on, and they are now engaging in and forcing this upon the public. But it's in that prima civitas report, and I'm not for sure if the prima civitas report is online or not, but I think we have a copy in the council office, and if anybody would like to read that report, because they're following that report that was presented to this body some time ago by maximizing the tax obligation for the residents of the city of Flint. So I just want to bring that back to our colleagues' remembrance that it was in that report. At that time, I think most of my colleagues frowned upon the fact that we wanted to levy those amount of millages upon the residents of the city of Flint. And I just wanted to bring it back to our remembrance. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Madam Clerk?
Our next speaker is Ms. Carolyn Shannon. Ms. Shannon.
Carolyn Shannon, 2001 Eckley Avenue, Flint, Michigan. To the Honorable President Scott Kincaid, to the Honorable City Clerk Inez Brown, and to the Honorable Council. I am very joyful to be standing before you this evening. My point in coming today is for you. I want you to get up, stand up, take action for your city, and see that it never gets in this array again. We do not want to fall into the hands of anybody managing our city but our people. We want our people to make money, no one else. Because the people that live in the city of Flint, they chose to live here. They could live any other place in Michigan or in the world, but they chose to live in Flint because, for one thing, we have a lot to offer. But when you have people coming in, filling up their pockets, raising our taxes, It's the wrong thing to do. The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. It is an honor to be here, and what I'm trying to tell you is, as soon as it's legally possible, to get the management people out of here and to return your pay. Now, if you don't want that pay, I will accept it. For the Big Brothers, Big Sisters organization, the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, McCree Theater, Flint Institute of Arts, Flint Institute of Music, Bauer Theater, the Sloan Museum, I will distribute this money that you don't want, what the managers took away from you. I will give it to these organizations that need it, because the organizations depend on the same people to give them the same money year after year. You get it in the mail from every organization in Flint. So I'm saying that these people are taking money from your children's college education, and you're not going to say anything. So I'm talking on behalf of you and the citizens of Flint. Get your salaries back, put those people out of this town, give Dane Walling, and I chose to support him for my own personal reasons. I wanted someone young and innovative. But if you're not going to fight for your job and your administration, your time is probably up. But I want you to fight for your salaries so you can give it to your kids' college fund. All of you are young, and it takes a lot of money. And whatever money you can make, put it in your pockets, put it in a fund for your kids. Everybody in here probably have children. Put it in the fund for your grandchildren. Go on a vacation. You deserve it. You're here tonight. I'm saying do the responsible thing. Tell those people that you want your salaries back. You're doing your job. And I want to speak on the water bill. My water bill was $410 last month. A adjuster came out there. This month, got the bill today, it was $66. Now, how is it going to jump in 1 month from $115 to $411? Now, because an adjuster came out, it's $66. But my total bill is still $830. So I want you to be very aware that they can manipulate your water bill, because it went from $400 to $66. They didn't change it. They just added $400 to another $400. And I want you to be very aware of what they're doing to the citizens of Flint. And I'm a senior citizen. If I'm taking a look at my water bill, other people should take a look at their water bill too, because it's being manipulated. Because I speak before the council, I'm going to say this right now. I am firing all managers and administrators that do not belong in the city of Flint. I am firing them today. I want them gone, and I want Dane Walling's job. I want him to be making $170,000 for his children. These, okay,
Carolyn,
I will close.
Please sum up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. I want Dane Walling's children to get that money, because these vintage people have retired over and over from other jobs. Let the young people have money to take care of their kids. And I'm firing everybody that have taken money out of my pocket. Thank you very much, Counselor.
Thank you, Carolyn. Okay, that concludes our speakers for this evening. We have no ordinances to deal with, and there are no resolutions for us to act upon this evening. Do I have any comments from my colleagues on the council?
Yes.
Councilman Neely?
Yes, Councilman Kincaid, I do want us to take a look as a body at providing some type of sort of sanctions for Peter Bade, the city attorney, for violation of the city charter because he has ignored this body's request for information, and also he has ignored the public by not being in the seat designated there. So we need to really take a serious hard look at Peter Bade providing this council body with no information as it relates to doing our job, providing this council body with ill information, and also ignoring the public from not being in that seat. We should not sit idly by and from week to week come here and not fulfill the city charter as it relates to the city attorney's position. We cannot allow him to ignore us in such a fashion. I once before put a motion on the floor to have him terminated. I know we're going to probably won't have any real resolve until this emergency management situation is done. It was my feeling that we should have terminated Peter Bade then. It is still my thoughts to terminate Peter Bade now. But we should, as a body, take a serious look at how the city attorney is treating the public of the city of Flint. Now, what I also learned, Councilman Kincaid, is that the energy grant that we could have used that we lost for over $1 million, Councilman Friedman had talked a lot about changing the street lights inside the city of Flint to LEDs and making it more cost efficient with those dollars, and we probably wouldn't be assessed $66 a piece per household for street lights if we had done that or used that money. Peter Bade then gave this body false information as it relates to that. Even when we were in full power the very last day, it was a refund given back to the federal government that Peter Bade failed to tell this body. And then once we asked him about it again, he told us that he did that in pursuit of retrieving that grant, that grant was going to be retrievable. I found out that that grant is lost to this community forever. And the city attorney has still failed to face the people or this council body by giving information that is relevant to the quality of lives for everybody that we serve. So I want to take a hard look at how we can provide sanctions or demand that this city attorney, this absent city attorney, he's been absent 4 consecutive meetings, not being here. So we need to do that, Mr. President, and I'm going to place that.
Shulman?
Yes.
I just explain the energy grant because I know that we supposedly were losing like $1.4 million of that grant.
It's gone.
It's gone. But I was under the understanding that a portion of that funding was coming back under the DOEG. And you're saying that we didn't get any of that back?
The money as we know it for the energy grant that we held some investigative hearings on, that money is gone.
Okay.
And if it was to return to...
But we didn't have to repay.
Yes, we did repay.
We paid that out of the general fund then?
Yes, it was paid out of general fund the very day our last official meeting that we had our last meeting. A refund check was provided to the DOE that day.
For $1.4 million?
No, not for $1.4 million. For the
For how much?
I think it was $250.
I think they repaid the, and I don't know for sure, but my understanding is that the remaining dollars in the grant went back, that were unspent, and that they had to repay
$250.
the $250, which was the cost for developing the plan.
Right. And the
only reason I raise this is because I don't remember everything.
Right.
You know, it's been a while. And I just wanted to go back and look at the notes to find out exactly where those dollars are and what happened. But if that's what you're saying, I mean.
And we could check the transcripts of the last meeting because that was the last meeting where we had full power. That very day, a check was refunded to the DOE, and Peter Bade failed to make us aware of that. And we asked those questions specifically.
And we didn't approve any
settlement
or anything like that.
We did not approve any funding to go back, and we were still in full power. So therefore, he made the refund.
Okay.
There.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember for sure, Sheldon.
Okay. Also,
But I appreciate that.
Okay. Also, I see that we have order number 8 by the poverty tax, poverty exemption for street lighting and assessments. And this is a good piece of information. I'm glad that we have it. I'm sure it just probably came to our office. But this, as it reads, it says that anybody that's suffering through low to moderate income levels in the poverty sense, that the $66 assessment at some point in time could be provided for by home and urban development dollars. But I'm not for sure if we got the application yet or see what qualifies individuals. But this is something that qualifies a community such as Flint. Home and urban development dollars can be used for any special assessments placed on the public. I'm curious to find out if garbage will be also included in another order for those families that cannot afford it. This is my first opportunity to look at this, but I will review this in full to find out what merits a qualification for those individuals that would qualify to get their street light assessment and or garbage assessment. But that is one of the things that home urban development dollars can provide for residents of the city of Flint. And so I'm glad to see this here. Yes.
Yeah. If you read that last paragraph, Sheldon, in the thing, it says that in order to be eligible, you have to qualify for a poverty exemption.
Okay.
So, I mean, I look at this and I'm thinking, okay, how many residents in the city of Flint that can apply for a poverty exemption actually own property and are going to be able to benefit from this? Because I'm just not sure that how many residents can actually apply for a poverty exemption that own property. I don't know if you qualify for a poverty exemption if you have and own property.
Understood.
And
right.
To me, this is misleading.
Yeah, right.
Because there are standards that you have to meet in the criteria to be eligible for a poverty exemption. And I believe if you own assets that are valuable and they put a value to those, that you may not qualify for poverty exemption status.
That's a perfect point, Mr. Kincaid. That's a perfect question for Peter Bay. Mr. Bay, can you answer that question?
And I read that this evening, and I'm thinking to myself.
Mr. Chairman, to you and to other council members and to the audience, we just received that particular order just prior to the commencing of this particular meeting. So that's why it's not on the agenda as a communication received and why it was distributed tonight, so.
Well, I think it's important that we see it.
Exactly, right.
Right.
But I just wanted to make that point.
And the point is very clear, and it makes perfect sense, but through the standards in which this last paragraph, as Councilman Kincaid stated, those who do own property probably will be the first wave to go, that could probably apply and receive this. You can find those poverty tax exemption papers in the city assessor's office, and I think the merits on that for the income guidelines is $20,000 or less for income for a one-person household, but you have to be homesteaded to that particular property and own the property, which is stated. And I think it goes up for $4,000 each intervote for each additional family member. But you have to file by December 7th of this year to qualify for the poverty tax exemption for your property. And if they're marrying that application to this application, and I do see all the concerns, and I agree with Councilman Kincaid, we do need to look at this and look at what the federal guidelines are from the Department of HUD, who would qualify, and how much money we have available for residents, because I think through when we look at the census tract, I think pretty much most of the city of Flint would fall into the category of those poverty guidelines in most census tracts that we look at throughout the city of Flint, because I think all of the city of Flint now is pretty much qualified for NSP dollars, correct, Mr. Kincaid? Or
yeah,
right. And so it's a perfect point. And also, one of our speakers talked about the overcharging of water bills and the overassessment of water bills for water that you do not use. There is a card on the back table that shows you steps on how to actually read your water meter if your water meter is still functioning. to make sure that you are paying for actually what you use. We already pay a high premium for water in this community, but you don't want to be charged for what you do not use. It's important because the people who are impacted in this community mostly are the young people in the city of Flint and the elderly, the ones who are the most vulnerable by these laws and resolutions and things that the emergency manager has imposed upon us. And when I mean impose, I mean force. And we all know force is violent. Don't give up, and do not get frustrated with the process where you disengage from the whole system, because November 6th is going to be a very important day for everybody in the nation, and especially for those of us in the state of Michigan and in the city of Flint that's where this emergency manager law has been forced upon us. You guys have seen it firsthand what happens in a community such as Flint when you have an emergency manager that does not respect the community. But as a council body, and Councilman Kincaid, we're going to follow your lead on this. I do want to provide to the fullest extent of what we can do sanctions up on Peter Bade. Also to update my colleagues and the community, next Monday, a week from today, the lawsuit will be heard that this council body has filed against emergency manager Ed Kurtz as it relates to Public Act 72. It will be heard in Judge Netherkett's court next Monday, asking for declaratory judgment, giving us our full power back as it relates to providing leadership for this community. And hopefully Netherkett will see through the malarkey that is going on and upholds or puts an injunction in place and temporarily until this thing is heard out or the voters are heard on November 6th, that we'll have our power back and that we can have some corrective action in this community that's so desperately needed. Thank you, Mr. Kincaid.
Yeah, and just to follow up, Sheldon, just to make sure that typically Mondays are motion days in court, and they typically don't have a hearing. So is Monday for motions to be presented, and then a hearing date set? I mean, I don't want people to go over there expecting to have testimony from both sides.
Right. And
because normally motions are, you know how they are.
Right. And thank you for bringing that. And that's something that, you know, I probably jumped ahead a little bit thinking that everybody understood that. But Mondays is our motion days. The motion will be heard by Judge Netherkett for declaratory judgment. And the declaratory judgment is asking for a restraining order against Ed Kurtz and his staff to provide any decision-making authority for the city of Flint and its residents. So if the motion is heard and granted, it'll go into immediate effect, and then the council and the mayor will be restored to full power at that point until the trial is heard, until the arguments are heard, if the motion is granted. So it will be heard in Judge Netherkett's courtroom on next week. Thank you, Councilman Kincaid, for that.
Thank you, Councilman Neely. Any other council members wishing to speak? Councilman Nolan?
Yes, I just want to invite the public to come out to Burston Field House on October 31st. I'm going to have my 4th annual candy giveaway for Halloween. It's going to be from 5 to 7 p.m. at Burston Field House, and I'm anticipating bagging up about 1,500 bags of candy. So I'm going to have more than enough. Last year, I ran out. I only had about 600 bags, and I ran out in 45 minutes. So we wanted to double that up this year. So I'm just inviting the community to come out October 31st at Burston Field House from 5 to 7. I'm going to have a couple of bounce houses. I'm going to have a DJ, and I'm going to have a table set up for just voter awareness. So 5 to 7, October 31st at Burston Field House, 3300 North Saginaw, Flint, Michigan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilman Sargentson?
Yes. October 31st from 5:30 to 7:30, we will be holding the 6th annual Harvest Festival featuring candy, prizes, and we will have a costume contest. And it's sponsored by Councilman Sargentson and Sheldon Neely, who represent the 6th and 8th Ward, respectively. That will be October 31st from 5:30 to 7:30. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Beth.
Excuse me, at the Bethel Baptist Church on North Ballinger. Methodist. Just about a quarter mile north of Ballinger and Flushing.
Okay.
And I heard Councilman Noden is going to go to his party dressed up as Mitt Romney. He's going to be scaring all the children this year.
Anyone else? I just want to let my colleagues know, I shared a little information with Bernard. Last week, I got contacted by the Flint Journal to do an op-ed piece. Well, they were looking for people that would be opposed to the police millage. And they had someone, I believe, from the administration that is supportive of the police millage, or someone from the committee supporting the police millage. And I just want my colleagues to know that this op-ed is in response to the request from the Journal for me, and I did include all my colleagues in the response, as we are all concerned about public safety in our community. And I just wanted you all to know that before you read it in the paper. It's supposed to be published, I think, one day this week. So with that, no other business. Our next meeting is for November. No next meeting? Oh, we can't, can we? It's over there. All right, we are adjourned. You're right. Okay, you're right. I forgot.